Hello, I'm Mayor David Grant, and I'm pleased to kick off the 2022 State of the City for Arden Hills. I'd like to say thank you to Boston Scientific for hosting us this morning at such a wonderful facility. I'm also happy to announce that we're back in person. After 2 years of doing State of the City virtually, it's great to see people again. I also want to thank my fellow council members for their service over the past year. Council Member Scott, Council Member Holden, Council Member Raji, and Council Member Holmes. Council members and I will present on a number of topics relevant to residents and the city of Arden Hills. Following the presentation, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions of individual members of the council and staff. I'd like to highlight the current staff org chart, and I'm grateful to have a number of our staff with us here this morning. And maybe since it's kind of an informal group, if we could have staff just quickly introduce themselves, starting up front here.
Good morning. Thanks for coming by. My name is Grace Sorrell. I'm the communications coordinator for the city.
David Swearingen. I'm the public works director and the city engineer.
Dave Carl, city administrator.
Jessica Jago, community development director.
All right, thank you. I'll begin the presentation today with an update on the Twin Cities Army Ammunition Plant, also known as TCAP. The TCAP property consists of 427 acres of undeveloped land north of Highway 96. The site is currently owned by Ramsey County and overseen by the Joint Development Authority, which is made up of 2 Arden Hills City Council members, 2 Ramsey County board members, and a neutral chair who is a resident of Arden Hills. Of the 427 acres, currently 162 acres are slated for residential use, 136.4 acres for commercial, retail, and industrial uses. It also will add 3 city parks totaling 24 acres, 57 acres of roads and infrastructure, and 46 acres of stormwater infrastructure, and 1.6 acres of the site for civic use. One interesting note about the site is that although it's expected to add 1,460 residential units and an estimated 4,000 jobs, there are only 2 entrance-exit points to the main development. One is located to the north of County Road H and 35W, and the other south of at Highway 96. So those 2 access points are basically the bulk of where people will be living. In December of 2012, the city and the county entered into a joint development agreement to start the process of developing the property. The agreement outlined each party's responsibilities. A master developer was selected to develop the property. The county was to have the land cleaned to residential standards, and the city was to zone the property. The city and the county began their respective duties, and in 2014, the city approved an alternative urban area review, also known as an AUAR. In 2015, the county had the land cleaned up and began the process of review by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. The next year, 2016, there were 3 major updates. First, Alatus was selected as the master developer for the project. Second, the MPCA certified the land was cleaned to residential standards. And third, the city and the county both approved the TCAP redevelopment code, otherwise known as the TRC. Following these 3 milestones, the county and the developer began discussing the next step to move the development forward. Early in 2018, the city was allowed to participate in ongoing discussions between the county and the developer. In the fall of 2018, the county announced a framework for a development agreement deal that would pave the way for construction on the site. That was then approved by the Joint Development Authority. The county then chose to abandon its own approved framework, and the county pulled all resources from the project. In 2019, the county brought forward litigation against the city. Also in 2019, the EPA delisted TCAP from its Superfund list for soils. Deep groundwater continues to be treated on the site. The litigation lasted 2 years, but was finally resolved in the city's favor. The judge dismissed the county's request to dissolve the long-standing partnership agreement between the city and the county. Following the litigation, the county pulled all resources from the project. Following the litigation, the county pulled all resources. The city would work with the developer to move the project forward. The city leadership followed the county's suggestion and began talks with the developer. The following 10 months of talks between the city and Alatis, both parties came to an agreement on a term sheet for the project. The highlights are reaffirming the 2016 approved plan, including 1,460 residential units, Alatis privately financing major pieces of the infrastructure valued at approximately $8.5 million, which would mitigate long-term financial risks to the city. Alatis covering city deficits of up to $2.4 million if revenues are not sufficient for the first 5 years of the project. Reimbursement to the city of $1 million in planning fees that have already been incurred by the city. Alatis constructing 3 new city parks valued at $14.5 million, $17 million in tax increment financing for a parking solution on the project, and making 326 of the 1,460 affordable units with the following stipulation. Of the 326 units, 20% would be owner-occupied, 180 units would be affordable at the 50 to 60% range of area median income, and 146 units of affordable would be provided at 80% of the median income. The city worked in good faith with the developer per the county's permission, and although the city approved this agreement this past May, the county rejected the term sheet, citing a lack of shared vision on the site. The city is looking forward to resuming the process, which was upheld by the court. That concludes my TCAP update. One item to review is essentially since 2016, there have been 2 agreements where 2 parties agreed. The county agreed with the developer, and second, the city agreed with the developer. Both of those were turned down by the county. I'll now turn it over to Councilmember Holmes to discuss development projects in the city.
Thank you, Mayor Grand. I am Councilmember Fran Holmes. I would like to echo Mayor Grant's thanks to Boston Scientific for providing this lovely venue, and I would also like to thank all of you who are attending either in person or will be watching the video replay of this program. I'm going to provide an update on the economic development activity in Arden Hills. There has been a great deal of development in the past few years. First of all, since we are meeting here on the Boston Scientific campus, I would like to highlight that Boston Scientific is constructing a 17,450 square foot addition to the south side of Building 14 in the northwest corner of the campus on Innovation Way, which is like right over there. The purpose of the facility is the development and production of lithium batteries for use in medical devices. Boston Scientific also recently increased parking lot capacity and other pedestrian vehicular safety improvements along Lexington and Cummings Park Drive for increasing capacity since they brought more employees to the business here in Arden Hills. The development trend in 2022 in the city is continuing in Arden Hills from the prior years. The City Council attended 2 grand opening events for newly constructed businesses. The first was held for Chick-fil-A on 3855 Lexington Avenue. This property was the former site of a Perkins restaurant, which was demolished as part of the redevelopment. The new 5,000 square foot restaurant features a dual drive-through lanes and outdoor dining. The project has an estimated value of $1.2 million. The second newly constructed building was Lifelong Wealth Advisors, which opened in May at 1150 County Road E in Arden Plaza. This property was previously undeveloped. The new 5,600 square foot building is their corporate headquarters, which moved from downtown Minneapolis to Arden Hills. It has an estimated value of $2.1 million. Celebrating its 50th anniversary, Lifelong Wealth Advisors is a financial consultant that offers investment advisory services. I'm going to turn now to, are you doing? She's doing this. Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn now to Saltbox, which is in progress construction. There are a number of in-progress developments in Arden Hills that the city anticipates construction to be completed by the end of the year or the early part of 2023. This first one is in the city's Round Lake Business District, which is located south of Highway 96 on the road south of the Holiday Station. This is a new business called Saltbox, and it's located at 4440 Round Lake Road West. This is a remodel of an existing 113 square foot industrial building. On May 23rd of this year, the City Council approved the site plan review, and in June, interior remodeling commenced to transform the building into workspaces for startup and small digital commerce buildings. This is a unique concept where Saltbox provides essential shipping and warehousing operations for small businesses to start and scale their growth. They're flexible. The flexible warehouse and office suites that are at the Saltbox location range in size from 76 square feet up to approximately 2,000 square feet. There'll be about 214 flexible suites. Saltbox has 5 locations in the United States, and this one is anticipated to open in the fall of 2022. The Arden Hills location will be the first Saltbox in Minnesota. Also in our Round Lake Business District, right down the road from the Saltbox, is the Gateway Interstate Commerce Building. This is located at 4200 Round Lake Road and can be seen from the visible corridor of 694 and 35W. So a lot of people have asked, and you can see it right there on the map, what's going on up there? And it's this it's a 250,000 square foot office and warehouse facility, and it will be occupied by 2 tenants. The building construction is anticipated to be completed in the fall. The first tenant is Delcor Systems. And Delcor Systems is already in Arden Hills. They have a location up on Round Lake Road as well and nearby, but they needed expansion, so they're going to have this additional production facility. And once they are finished, Delcor will have a total operational footprint in Arden Hills of 250,000 square feet and more than 300 employees. The company specializes in the design and manufacture of advanced robotic packaging machines. Delcor's machines provide the robotic technology used by other companies to perform the packaging of their own food, beverage, and consumer products. They are the largest U.S. manufacturer of vision-based robotic case packers. And then the second tenant will be Colder Products Company, also known as CPC. CPC is the leading provider of couplings, fittings, and connectors for life sciences, biopharma, and chemical handling markets. This site adds to the company's existing Minnesota locations, which are in Roseville, which many of you may have seen, and there's also one down in Minneapolis. The Arden Hills location will focus on the innovation of liquid cooling for high-performance computers. CPC will occupy approximately 168 square feet within this Gateway Interstate building, and there will be production, warehouse, and office space for more than 500 employees. So as you can see, we're bringing in a lot of new employees into the city that will also be using our restaurants and other amenities. I'm now going to turn to the Lexington Avenue area, and the Lexington Station Phase 3 was approved by the City Council in April of 2021. Sorry. Where am I? Okay. Yes, that's right. That's the reason I'm confused is because this is the unnamed grocery store that's going to be on Lexington Station. At this time, the exterior construction is complete and the interior build-out is underway, ultimately to accommodate a 43,000 square foot grocery store. This unnamed grocery store will be new to the Minnesota market. An important part of this project is the addition of a stoplight. There will be a new stoplight at the intersection across from Target and Kane to mitigate any additional traffic congestion. The city anticipates the grocery will be opening in the spring of 2023, and a lot of people are interested in this, so we're looking forward to that coming to the city. Other in progress construction includes Round Lake and New Perspective Senior Living. The city of Arden Hills strives to develop and maintain a strong and diverse and stable housing supply for all members of our community. These will both be senior facilities. The first one is Round Lake Senior Living, which is located at 1740 Park Shore Drive. The developer is Trident Development. This is a 3-story senior housing building featuring 120 units, including 61 units of independent living and 59 units of assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing. This senior living facility features a trail adjacent to the property that was paved in August of this year. This trail will have accessible equipment for aging residents and residents with disabilities. There will be 6 or 7 ADA accessible and senior-oriented workout stations installed this fall. Each station is designed for exercises for most users, and the construction of this is anticipated to be completed at the end of the year. The second senior living project is New Perspective Living, which is at 3565 Pine Tree Drive, and again, you can see that on the map. This is a senior living facility of 4 stories and 145 units. Those units will be devoted to 114 of independent and assisted living and 31 units of memory care. This property was formerly owned by Bethel University and sold to the developer in 2021. The senior living facility is planned to create opportunities for Bethel students that are going into the healthcare field in the future. So there'll be synergies here where the students will be working over at the senior living facility. Now, finally, I'm going to be talking about upcoming construction projects. The first one is Launch Property. The construction is anticipated to begin at the end of the year, and this is the redevelopment of the Pace Industries properties at 3737 Lexington Avenue and in the corner of 1133 Gray Fox Road. The Pace Industry site has been vacant since October of 2019. On July 25th, 2020, the City Council approved a project to improve it and redevelop it. The existing industrial building will be demolished and the site will be tested for contamination. Any pollutants will be removed by the developer Launch Property. Then construction of the 2 new buildings will commence. The 2 new buildings are, one will be a 3-tenant building comprised of Panera Bread, Pacific Dental, and Bank of America. And then on the 1133 Gray Fox Road site, which is really all one big area, but in that area, there will be a 4,900 square foot drive-through called Rocket Car Wash. Residents may recall that in 2021, Launch Properties brought forth a land use application for a standalone Aldi's supermarket, accompanied by a 2-tenant retail building. This zoning request was denied by the city at the time because the developer was proposing a significant number of deviations from the city zoning code, and there was too much flexibility sought. The developer went back to the drawing board and proposed a site layout with land uses that reduced the number of flexibilities they were requesting. Today, the property has no landscaping, but Launch Property will be installing landscaping to bring the site into compliance with city requirements for landscaping. It will eliminate 2 access points entirely, and it will realign 1 access point to the existing one leading to Cub Foods to minimize any conflicts in that area. And this is an example of the city working with a developer to achieve a mutually beneficial project. Finally, I'm going to talk about building department activity. Thank you. In 2022, pandemic-driven changes such as rising costs for labor and materials and supply chain shortages continue to impact current and future construction projects and timelines in residential and commercial markets. This slide is a little bit difficult to understand because the beige is for the number of permits issued and the value of projects for the entire year of 2021, but the green is 2022, and it's only through August 31 of 2022. So you sort of have to think, okay, are we on track, because we've got several more months of the year to build us up to what was done last year. And the way the trends are looking, residential permits appear to be on track for similar figures in 2021, which is both the request for permits and the value. So the residential, we think, are going to be pretty much on track. This continues to demonstrate the strong desire of our residents to reinvest and preserve the high quality of housing stock in our community. Last year in 2021, there were several large commercial projects, and it was an unusually high year for commercial development. We think that the number of permits issued will be approximately the same in 2022, but we think the amount of value and revenue from those projects will not be quite as high as last year. The city has approximately $46 million in commercial development so far, and this is evidence that Arden Hills continues to remain attractive for commercial projects, even if the total value of the projects in 2020, that's because I wanted to say that even the total value of projects in 2020 was $13 million. So you can see that commercial is still growing from 2020. That concludes my portion of the presentation, and I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Raji. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Thanks for being here today. I'm Councilmember David Raji, serving a one-year term, stepping in for the late Dave McClung. This morning, I'm taking on the task of the challenge of explaining city's connection with Ramsey County Sheriff's Department and Lake Johanna Fire Department and the cost impact that these entities have on our city's budget. Public safety plays an important role in the city and makes up nearly half of the city's $5.5 million general fund budget for 2022. And any increase in these costs does have a direct impact on each of us here in Arden Hills. Both of these, the police and the fire, are shared agreements with other communities, which has proven to be the most cost-effective coverage for us. Let's take a look at the Sheriff's Department. We currently contract with Ramsey County to provide police services in our city for 24 hours a day. The Sheriff's Department provides services to other cities, including Falcon Heights, Little Canada, North Oaks, Shoreview, Vadnais Heights, and White Bear Township. Following a compensation study, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners approved a one-time market adjustment for each of these classifications, providing a competitive pay consistent with market and surrounding local governments. Although this was done at the county board level, those costs do pass on down to the cities in our contracts for services. I hope you can all agree that we need safe streets and neighborhoods, and it will be costing us a little more to maintain our contract with Ramsey County Sheriff's Department. That said, Arden Hills remains a safe community for our residents, for our businesses, and for our visitors. Of the 4,232 calls received in 2021 for Arden Hills, most were not crime-related. Instead, medical emergencies, assisting other departments, and quality of life calls. The Sheriff's Department wants to remind everyone to be aware of theft, especially for your automobiles, including stealing valuables from cars, catalytic converters, and stealing the entire car. Remember, keep your vehicles locked, and if you see something suspicious, call 911. Moving on to Lake Johanna Fire Department. They operate 3 fire stations and serves the city of Arden Hills, North Oaks, and Shoreview. The department protects an area of approximately 31 square miles and 42,000 residents. In 2021, the department responded to 1,178 calls for Arden Hills. 24 of those were actual fire calls, 849 were rescue and medical calls, 165 were good intent calls, and 140 were other calls, such as gas leaks and downed power lines and false alarms. Across the 3 cities, the calls for service are increasing on an average of 8.5% per year, with projections surpassing 6,000 calls annually by 2026. In 2021, across the 3 cities, there were 580 occasions where 2 or more calls happened simultaneously. And 113 times, 3 calls occurred simultaneously, and 17 times there were 4 or more calls happening simultaneously. The department operates 3 stations, 2 of which are staffed 24/7, utilizing part-time firefighters. The department has shown the 3 cities that it's clearly needed that the staff for a 3rd station in order to improve response times, not only to the northern 1/3 of the area, but to the whole entire district is needed. To do this, the department would need to increase the number of on-duty staff from currently 6 to 8 staff. Will increase the number of on-duty to respond to emergency calls from 2 to 3. The roadmap to fill these 2 additional on-duty positions is to hire 6 total captains who will be on work duty 24 hours rotating shifts, which means 2 will be working at any given time. Lake Johanna Fire Department has applied for a federal FEMA SAFER grant, which would pay for 100% of the wages and benefits for 6 full-time captains for 3 years, totaling about $2.4 million. Following the grant period, the cities would be responsible for funding these full-time positions. Also, the department has been working on a new headquarters facilities since 2017. Last year, via direction of the Board of Directors, with representation from all 3 cities and the department itself, the department purchased 3.7-acre parcel on Pine Tree Drive. This new facility would replace Station Number 4 at Victoria Avenue in Shoreview. The construction documents, i.e. plans and specs, are complete, and the project is shovel-ready. In 2021, the city applied for the state bonding dollars to assist on paying for this project in the construction of the new station. Unfortunately, the legislature did not approve the state bonding project for 2022. The cities and the department will continue to seek funding opportunities for this new station, but the timing of construction is yet to be determined. Thank you for being here today. That concludes my comments in my portion of this presentation, and I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Holden.
Hi, I'm Councilmember Holden, and I just want to thank Boston Scientific. And I know last year we had over 800 hits on the State of the City address online, so I want to welcome those that are watching it online as well as here. Most of you can read the slides, so I'm not going to repeat everything that's on it. Last year we had two major pavement management projects. One was Old Snelling north of Lindy's, and then a little offshoot called Cummings Lane off of that street. We repaved Old Snelling and Cummings Lane and replaced aging water mains and sanitary sewers within the roadway. And thanks to staff for thinking outside the box and really doing a lot of research, we were able to add a 10-foot wide grade-separated trail along the west side of the road and behind the curb to improve pedestrian safety. The road was designed with a complete curb and gutter, and we made it narrower widths of the lanes to provide a more traffic calming effect. We will also be placing a permanent speed display sign that will be installed on the southbound traffic. Arden Oaks, the other one, which is just north of Lindy's Triangle, we did pavement rehab and drainage improvements. Infrastructure. This slide shows the cost of a lot of the infrastructure that we did in the last year. Old Snelling cost about $1.7 million. $850,000 came from municipal state aid, which is funds that is given by the state of Minnesota to all cities based on a formula. We had $190,000, which came from special assessments, which really equates to residents who front the property. And $610,000 was covered by city and utility funds. On Arden Oaks, that was about a $700,000 project. $245,000 was covered by special assessments or residents that front the property. And the remaining $430,000 was covered by city funds and city utilities. The City Hall parking lot, which was over 20 years old and didn't have a very good foundation to begin with, was rehabbed. It was a $300,000 project and included new pavement. It's now ADA improvement and security improvements, and the entire project was funded by city's funds. Mounds View High School pedestrian safety improvements up by the school. They now have the parking lot on the other side of the school, which really complicates things because all the students park over there and they have to get to the school. So the city was involved in the planning and the design and the crossing and all other safety elements, including a speed sign display, concrete curb mediums, and ADA improvements. The project was funded completely by Mounds View Public School Districts. However, our staff had the lead on making sure everything was safe and there was no liability to the city. Ramsey County Lexington Avenue Reconstruction Project. Well, we all know that one. It's past June 17th and it's not done yet. It's past June, it's July, end of July, and it's not done yet. But we were fortunate enough, the city was fortunate enough, knowing that the county was going to do this. We had 50-year-old water mains along the line, so we were able to replace that, and we were able to finish completing the trail connection all along Lexington. While this project costs over $1 million, we did receive, the city did apply for state bonding funds, and thanks to Representative Kelly and Senator Isaacson, we received $500,000 from the state of Minnesota for the water main. $40,000 from a local road improvement project grant, which is another state-funded grant. $310,000 came from city funds. $200,000 was in special assessment, and that was from the businesses in the area. And the project will be constructing a new signal, and I believe Fran talked about that, right at the corner of Target and the new Lexington, the secret grocery store that nobody knows what it is. So there'll be a nice another signal there for easier access to businesses and to make Lexington run smoother. What's later? Street maintenance, annual street maintenance. We have an annual street maintenance project for pavement preservation, and this year it occurred on 7 miles of streets and 2.5 miles of trails. And just for trivia people, we have 30 miles of roads, and we have over 25 miles of trails in Arden Hills. Now, the maintenance included crack sealing, which you all see that little toilet paper in the street over the crack seals. Fogging. Fog sealing is actually the oil that goes down. And then seal coating is the little tiny rocks and pebbles. Those aren't needed on the trails because the little rocks are only needed when there's high impact and big traffic on the roads, so it's not needed on the trail. We did start the city designed a new maintenance process last year. Our new city engineer came up with this, and it sounds like a great plan. What we're doing now is we're taking, since a lot of the roads aren't bad all the way through, there's like certain places where there's clay and certain places that have good foundation. What we're doing now is we're patching large areas. City staff is going out there and patching the areas that are significantly bad. And they determine that by different ways. I don't know, there's alligator cracks, and there's good cracks and bad cracks, and engineers know all that stuff. But we determine which areas are going to be replaced. So they take the large areas and they patch the large areas, and that adds up to 10 years on the life of these streets when city does that. The city spent approximately $400,000 this year. $250,000 was on the seal coating and $150,000 was on the patching. And I appreciate saving. Maintenance has always been dear to my heart, and I think we do it in our homes, and we need to do it at the city as much as possible. Infrastructure. Again, this goes back to the cost of the infrastructure that's going on. Right now, we have plans for a complete new trail from the Mounds View School, a grade-separated trail from E2 down to Lake Valentine Road, and then Lake Valentine Road up to the school. We're in the bonding bill for this. We made all the bonding approvals. Unfortunately, again, the bonding bill did not get passed from the legislature. The cost of this trail is around $850,000. We did qualify for a grant from Safe Routes to School for $450,000, and Ramsey County, partnering with Ramsey County on the old Highway 10, they're going to pay $200,000, and the rest of the city is going to pay $200,000. Ramsey County, they're designing a roundabout, if everyone hasn't heard, at Lake Johanna Boulevard and Old Snelling, the old Lindy's Triangle area. The estimated cost is about $1.6 million. 25% of it is the city's responsibility, and we will be using our MSA funds, our municipal state aid money. The fortunate thing with this for the city, since the county's moving forward with this, is that underneath that intersection, we have a 6-inch cast iron water main that has been placed there in the 1960s. This pipe's old and it's cracked, and I don't know much about metal, maybe Lyle can help me, but cast iron gets very brittle as it ages. So this 6-inch main is between two 12-inch mains. One we had just put in with the new section on Old Snelling when we did the trail and the street, and the other one has come from when we did the other trail from Bethel. So what we have is we have a 12-inch going into a 6-inch, old 1960 cast iron to a 12-inch. So we need to replace that 6-inch area with an upgraded 12-inch so we can get the full 12-inch flow. This will assure consistency and reliability service for that area of the community. We also found out, and we probably knew this, but the city has to replace all the clay sewer lines that are under that intersection, because there are many that are failing. A third of our city is clay-lined sewers, and we've been lining them, but this one is failing. There are cracks in it. It needs to be replaced. So that's another reason why we're moving forward with the roundabout. And one additional point that was made by the county is, right now, Arden Hills, we have money for that intersection. If you choose not to move forward with that intersection, we will use the money elsewhere, and we will not come back to this intersection for a long, long time. So those are very good reasons for us to fix the water main, the water, the sewer, and the traffic flow that goes through that intersection. As you can see, our annual maintenance projects are in the red. The city's still evaluating for next year. We're still evaluating which trails need to be completed. And next year's maintenance budget is expected to be at least $220,000 in city funds. We have the Arden Manor Park improvement, which is $250,000. This park hasn't been done. It's on the cycle to be done. It was supposed to be done this year, but we have some drainage issues that needed to be reevaluated, so we're going to proceed with it next year instead of this year. We got $190,000 from the Community Block Grant Program, and we had to do a matching, so we did $60,000 in city funds. What happens when we do parks, we have an open house. We invite the neighbors and the community to talk about what they want at the park and what they're looking for, and we move from that point. The other one next year will be the Floral Park improvement. We'll be doing the tennis court, the basketball court, and the equipment again. It's about $575,000 that we budgeted for it. The playground equipment will be, and we're gonna rehab the whole site overall. And the same thing happens, we invite that community to come in and ask us what they want, what they're looking for in playground equipment. More slides. One big thing that's going to affect everyone in Arden Hills is the new St. Paul Regional Water Treatment Center. The center's over 100 years old. They're replacing 2/3 of it. It needs to be done, and unfortunately, it does cost money. So because of this, they have given us an estimate of what the cost will be. And so therefore, there's a slide there that shows how much increase there will be in people's annual average water per month to have the new increase. I have never heard any complaints about our water. I mean, the good thing is that they're doing this now before there's a problem or an issue with the site. We get our water from Roseville, which gets it from St. Paul, which comes from this location. So hopefully they'll be done within 2 years, and they will upgrade the rest of it as time allows. The next one is, I just wanted everyone to know about our tree plan. We've had a lot of diseased trees. We've had a lot of dying trees. 96 does not seem to be a very good place to have trees. So again, we're taking down about 30 dead or diseased trees. Emerald ash borer has been very devastating to us. So we're taking down 30 dead trees, and then we are planting 55 trees. And you can see along the dots where those trees will be planted. Afterwards, if you want to know what kind of trees they are, there's a mix. I can let you know. We're also going to plant more trees at Perry Dog Park. It's pretty bare out there since it's an old baseball field, so the dogs wanted some more trees, so we're going to plant some trees up there. And Oak Avenue, there's a little... They got to bring their own fire hydrants. So Oak Avenue also has a little cul-de-sac area with a large green area and park inside. That needs some more trees because we had lost some dead ones there. And Tom Court's medium turnaround also had some diseased trees, which we took out, that needs more trees. So our plan for the fall tree schedule, we are contracting with this, and the contractor has to water the trees for the next 2 years, which is really big considering how we go to drought. It's really important, and it takes a significant time watering the trees every year and making sure that they're in good shape in the summer. Emerald ash borer. Unfortunately, the city and its residents are battling emerald ash borer. It's been pretty devastating in the city. Some people have had to take down on their private property 3 trees and more. The city's really monitoring the ash trees for emerald ash borer. The city itself did an inventory of all our significant ash trees on public property. Any trees that were 8 inches in diameter or greater that were in good condition were being treated by injection. We also, in sicker trees, we started planting buddy trees next to the ash trees that were starting to show signs of decline to the end health, and to determine their infestation by emerald ash borer. Once the emerald ash borer does take hold of the tree, it's going to have to come down. So that way the buddy tree will provide some overlap time period, where it will grow where the existing tree was taken down. The city is removing all our diseased trees that we find on public property, and our plan can be reviewed on our city website under emerald ash borer if anyone would like to see what our plan is and where the trees are that are being treated. Now, that's all I have, and I'm turning it over to Mr. Scott. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Holden. Good morning. My name is Steve Scott, and I'll be talking to you this morning about the trails in Arden Hills. So the city currently has 25 miles of trails, as shown on the map. You compare that, we actually have about 30 miles of paved roadways. So our trails comprise almost an equal segment of our roadways for motorized vehicles. So the trails we have are currently constructed of a variety of materials, including asphalt and concrete. Then we also have some natural trails consisting of grass, dirt, and dirt mulched with wood chips. The city continuously plans and constructs these trails to improve their connectivity with each other. Over the past 12 years, the city has added another 7.2 miles of paved trails, as shown on the map. Trails can cost anywhere from $1 million to $2.8 million per mile. To assist in securing funding for trail construction, the city invests in feasibility studies. The feasibility studies allow the city to pursue grant and state bonding application funds. A couple of examples of those are the Lake Johanna Boulevard Trail Concept Plan and the Old Highway 10 Trail Connectivity Feasibility Study. The city also looks for opportunities to partner with other agencies to secure funding. Some highlights of the recent trail improvements are the completion of an east-west connection from the 35 bridge on County Road E2 to the intersection of Lexington Avenue and County Road E. Other improvements include added pedestrian safety with grade-separated trails. And by grade separated, we mean that the roadway is on one level, we have a curb, and the trail is typically elevated, and that's a safety factor. We also incorporate ADA improvements and flashing beacons at our crosswalks. Some of the considerations for building trails includes topography and steep slopes, vegetation and trees existing, public utilities and sewer and water utilities, stormwater management requirements, existing road sections and curbs, wetland impacts. We typically have to work with Rice Creek watershed on most of those issues, soil conditions, right-of-way acquisition, retaining walls, driveway impacts, and ADA compliance. These variables are the cause of the large range of trail costs. The recently constructed Bethel Trail is 4,500 feet in length, or 8.85 hundredths of 1 mile, and it costs $2.4 million to complete that trail. So extrapolating, that is the $2.8 million per mile for that one segment. The city continuously constructs trails wherever practical and prioritizes these projects as follows. One is the additions to each other and our larger capital projects, such as when we do a major street reconstruction, that's an opportunity to also complete a trail segment in that area. We take recommendations from our Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee. We evaluate safety needs. We look at connectivity with other trail systems. We coordinate with other agencies, including the county, MnDOT, and our surrounding cities. We conduct corridor studies, and we pursue funding opportunities. One of the unique aspects of our city is the presence of our military facilities we have just north of Highway 96. Arden Hills is home to multiple military facilities, including the National Guard and the Army Reserve. Notably, we're lucky to have the headquarters for the National Guard's 34th Infantry Division. The 34th Infantry, otherwise known as the Red Bulls, is one of only 3 National Guard infantry divisions in the entire nation. The Red Bulls recently relocated their headquarters from Rosemont to Arden Hills and moved into a brand new 150,000 square foot facility, which features state-of-the-art building and energy technologies. This new headquarter facilities houses a small number of full-time staff during weekdays, but the facility comes alive on the weekends with over 700 soldiers from across Minnesota and neighboring states arriving to participate in required drills and military maneuvers. Often you'll see formations of military helicopters flying overhead and convoys of military vehicles on our roadways. We welcome these citizen soldiers and the added economic impact they bring to the local business community. The commercial businesses, employees typically work a Monday through Friday schedule, and they use the restaurants and shopping in their neighborhoods. And the military reservists and National Guard members offer an opportunity for weekend traffic to those same businesses, so it helps kind of balance out the scales. Beyond the Yellow Ribbon is a network of Beyond the Yellow Ribbon associations around the state. It's well represented in Arden Hills by many volunteers, including my wife. The Beyond the Yellow Ribbon Steering Committee coordinates with state and county military family assistance offices to connect available services offered by individuals, organizations, and commercial companies to support not just our active duty service members, but also retirees, veterans, and their families. 2022, the City Council recently affirmed its support and commitment to the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon by proclamation. Examples of recent services we provided were meals to soldiers assembling for deployment and returning home from deployment. We located a plumber who was willing to donate labor and a new water heater to a deployed soldier's family, and we assisted the daughter of a deployed National Guard chaplain when she had to move from her Maplewood apartment to another town. Our troops are able to focus fully on their duties if they know their families back home are being looked after. If you'd like additional information on what the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon Network is or how you could help, please contact the city or myself directly. Moving on to local government and issues. Year-round, the city receives input from residents and businesses concerning what they like and they don't like, what works well and doesn't work around the community. The range of suggestions often involves city policies, city code, and other operational functions. The City Council takes these suggestions seriously and will discuss and make changes wherever appropriate. A few of the changes that we've made this year or plan to include lowering the citywide range of speed limits. This was a opportunity granted to us recently by the state legislature. So we will be able to control the speed limits on our city-owned street. That does not mean that we also have jurisdiction over county or MnDOT roads, which there are a lot of in our community. So we do have plans to lower the speed limit to 25 miles an hour on city streets. It's not been formally approved yet, but it's likely to happen before year's end. The city also updates its ordinances regarding the proximity of drive-throughs in response to COVID, which affects how businesses operate. We noticed on planning case after planning case, one of the common reoccurring themes, requested variance was relief of that requirement that only allowed drive-through facilities within a quarter mile or greater. So that alleviates a lot of the issues. Businesses are continually modernizing their business models, especially after COVID. So this helps our businesses remain competitive with other communities. The City Council also updated the ordinance to allow residents to keep chickens in their backyard. That was also a COVID-related outcome. They can also do so after meeting certain requirements by attaining a city license. The council also updated the rules concerning fence height around swimming pools. As a safety consideration, one of our residents came and presented her concerns to the council. The current regulation was a 5-foot barrier, and she says 4 foot is actually advised and common throughout the area. We said that makes perfect sense, and we acted on that. City Council also updated their food truck ordinance to better regulate food truck operations and to allow residents to serve the general public. Previously, that was limited to the private needs of that particular resident, but now they can host food truck events that just serve the general needs of the public. Following the concerns from residents, the City Council worked to have flashing speed feedback signs installed on Old Snelling, Lake Valentine Road, Highway 51, and Highway 96 to help slow traffic. I'm done. So that concludes my presentation, and to wrap up with closing remarks, I return now to Mayor Grant. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Scott. The city's financial position remains strong with stable fund balance levels, even as the volume of financial activity has fluctuated. The city also obtained a clean audit report, an unmodified clean audit report. As the graph illustrates, the city has generally been able to maintain stable fund balances as the volume of financial activity has fluctuated. A healthy financial position allows the city to avoid volatility in tax rates, helps minimize the impact of state funding changes, allows for the adequate and consistent funding of services, repairs, and unexpected costs, and is a factor in determining the city's bond rating and resulting interest costs. I'd like to take just a moment to comment on some of Councilmember Holden's slides. As you've seen, the city is, over a number of projects, has worked in cooperation and funding requests from the state, from the county, from block grants. You can go back and review all the various sources of funds. We have a $5.5 million levy, and you see all of the things that we're able to do. We go out there and represent you and take part and partner up with other organizations to make things happen. Between 2021 and 2022, the City of Arden Hills received $1,123,531 in funding from the American Rescue Plan funding. The city developed a list of water and sewer projects that met the eligibility requirements of the funding and could be completed prior to December 31st, 2024. In 2021, ARPA funding was used for the replacement of aging cast iron pipe in streets that were already under construction around Hazelnut Park. The funding will also be allocated toward utilities in the recently completed Snelling Avenue North and Utility Improvements Project, and will likely be used in next year's Snelling Avenue North and County Road E intersection improvements project. Staff and council members determined that using ARPA funds on utility projects will alleviate the need to issue future debt for improvements and can keep utility costs down. Investment in critical infrastructure is a particularly well-suited use of ARPA funds because it is a non-recurring expense that can be used to invest in long-term assets that will benefit Arden Hills for many years. In a comparison of communities in Ramsey County, the average cost of property taxes on a $384,600 homestead in Arden Hills paid $84.50 per month in property taxes to the city. The reason $384,600 was chosen is it represents the average home in Arden Hills. We continue to collect our tax revenue and continue to maintain one of the lowest property tax rates compared with other municipalities in Ramsey County. The only city not represented in that graph is North Oaks. North Oaks operates partly as a rather large homeowners association and partly as a city, so they're entirely unique. Probably unique even within the state of Minnesota. In addition to what's already been covered, there are a few recent improvements that have been made around the city that we'd like to share with you. The Arden Hills Foundation donated new charcoal grills and hot charcoal bins to Cummings and Perry Parks, where they were installed in August. The Arden Hills Foundation, if you're interested in looking it up, can be found at ardenhillsfoundation.org. Additionally, a sun shelter will be installed at the Perry Park Dog Park, along with a concrete pad near the entrance gate. The dog park sun shelter shades were provided by the Spring Lake Park Lions Club. And the concrete pad at the entrance gate was provided by the Arden Hills Foundation. We received the Arden Hills Foundation received feedback that the entrance to the dog park was often muddy and needed a concrete pad. New maple trees, as was previously presented, will also be installed as part of the 2022 tree plan.
Pickleball, talk about the pickleball striping on the.
And one other improvement, residents have asked that the city stripe some of the tennis courts so that it can be used for dual pickleball and tennis, and in one case, a small basketball court in a neighborhood will be striped so that it can be also used for pickleball. I want to thank you for joining us this morning for the annual State of the City address. The rest of the council, myself and city staff will be available for questions and feedback in just a moment. You'll notice that tables around the room are labeled topically. Please visit the tables relevant to your question, and please introduce yourself, and this will give us an opportunity to answer questions in more depth. Again, thank you for coming today, and I certainly want to thank Boston Scientific for the use of their facilities and hosting here today. Thank you.